This yarn, it held a promise. Spun by hand, each strand carried a unique texture, a subtle variation that spoke of its origin. It's fitting for the occasion. A birthday sweater for Michael, something magical and one of a kind, a warmth that went beyond the fibers themselves. The journey began with a map of sorts, a commercial pattern offering a familiar route.
So there's this collection where there are quite a few of male sweater patterns. This one. And here. So this is the sweater I am currently knitting. It's called Mercea and it's designed by Carlo Volpi.
Beautiful stitch texture. The early stitches were a quiet exploration. The hand-spun yarn, with its delightful inconsistencies, demanded a different kind of attention. It wasn't the uniform, smooth texture of machine-spun yarn. It possessed a subtle life. It really was a lesson in embracing the unique character of the materials. I decided to pair it with a dark chocolate, unspun yarn, the perfect backdrop to highlight the color and texture of the handspun.
So I've been happily knitting away at the sleeves. Made some good progress. Unfortunately, I also made a mistake. It's very subtle. Can you tell? It's right here. It's missing one row of stockinette or two. Ugh.
The path had more stumbles than I ever imagined. Mistakes emerged like unexpected knots in the yarn, requiring the frustrating act of unraveling hours of work. Little did I know I was about to embark on an adventure with many twists and turns.
Sometimes I do knit straight from the yarn barf. But, well, after putting this off for a few days, I'm finally casting on the body of the sweater. And I've been putting it off because I need to cast on almost 200 stitches in the round using tubular cast on. How I handle it is every 50 stitches I put a small marker like so. So I count as I go, and after 50 I put the little marker and then start again at 1. So if I lose track, worst case is I need to undo at most 50 cast stitches. Joining in around is tricky again because those stitches are not laying flat. They could twist on themselves. So how to solve that is that usually you do 2 rounds of knitting the knits and slipping the purls back and forth before joining in the round. I'm doing 2x2 ribbing, but the tubular cast-ons, or how I do it, is I always start with 1x1, and then after joining in the round, I'll change the order of the stitches around so that it creates 2x2 rib. That's just a little extra step that made me put this off. So now I'm almost through the slip stitch rounds, and I'll be ready to join in the round. About a month to go. 1.5 months to go. Fingers crossed.
Time initially felt like a generous companion. The birthday seemed a distant horizon, offering ample space for this act of creation. But life, with its unpredictable currents, intervened. A series of illnesses swept through, each one stealing precious days, halting the rhythm of the needles, and turning a relaxed timeline into an ambitious one. Yet, within the challenges, a quiet resolve began to take hold. Bundled in my wool sweater, a mask a constant companion, the needles would click softly, a quiet rhythm in the stillness of the house. Progress was slow, agonizingly so at times. This wasn't about speed. It was about unwavering forward motion. Maybe even the most ambitious projects can be conquered through persistent small acts of creation. And I measure until the underarm stitches. I did write my note on this. Here it says my gauge is 20 stitches to 44 rows. And for the body, I have 192 stitches, which should give me 96 in circumference, which corresponds to the XS size. No, double XS, because this is to fit chest. And here I have the schematic. To fit chest, yeah, it'll be the double XS size. But I do hope this grows a bit more with blocking. So let's trust my gauge and hope that this fixes it. But now I see that
it looks like, based on the sleeve length, circular yoke would be a nice way to fill in the part up here. If I go with dropped shoulder as the pattern suggests, it'll be, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm tending towards circular yoke because I think it'll result in a nice continuity on the yoke part. Because then we'll have a seamless texture all over as opposed to breaking it up on the shoulder seams. But then the problem there is that I would need to figure out the gauge or how to work it out. So let's see. A little bit concerned. So what I did is I tried to measure my gauge on this piece that I'm knitting. So my note says that my gauge is 20 stitches by 44 rows. Row gauge is as the swatch, washed swatch, but stitch gauge is 2 stitches off. That's why this is appear much smaller than what I calculated it to be. My conclusion is that I really do need to do some pre-blocking before continuing on. So, the day has arrived where we join the body and the sleeves and start working on the yoke. Let me show you what I have so far. We have the body and then the sleeves. And we get to join this, make a sweater. And to do that, I've pulled out the big gun. No other than in the knitting workshop book. I've used this before to modify some of the sweaters I knit in the past. Amazing, amazing reference. Especially if you want to venture into some modifications or even making your own pattern. Here she has something called the Elizabeth percentage system, which I will be using to hack the yoke part a little bit. To reiterate, I'm knitting the Merzea pullover by Carlo Volpi from Rower Magazine 58. It's originally knitted flat and with a drop shoulder yoke construction. But I've never knit this type of construction before for Michael, my husband. I've knitted raglan, I've knitted circular yoke and set-in sleeves, and they all fit beautifully. I feel like circular yoke would be the best fit, not only based on the sweaters that he's had so far, but because of this stitch pattern, and I want to have like a more continuous look around the yoke. So I need to do a little bit of math tonight to figure out how many stitches I want to leave for the underarms and how far apart the yoke creases are and how many stitches I should have left for the neckband. Key number is 100% of stitches at chest circumference. Basically the stitches I have here. I think I know, but I'm gonna recalculate it just to be sure. Okay, let's do it. We'll just count based on the stitch repeats. 1, 2, 3, 36 repeats times 4 makes, oh damn, you're my calculator. Now I have to calculate this from the top of my head like a smart person. 144 stitches would be the key number. This is K. And then sleeves are, wait, it's gonna be right. That's way too little. Eh? Oh no, did I F up? I'm 10 stitches, 8 stitches short. Damn, why? My iPad there? My iPad, I need a calculator.
There's a particular kind of heartbreak that only a knitter knows. It's that moment after what feels like significant progress when a cold, hard truth reveals itself. I was feeling a surge of optimism, finally approaching the yoke, that crucial joining point. But as I laid the pieces out, as I crunched the numbers, a disquieting realization dawned. The body is missing too many stitches. And then there's the sleeves. Held side by side, they were like siblings who'd grown up in different households, distinctly different in size. A wave of frustration washed over me. The hours of careful stitching suddenly feeling like a detour down the wrong path. Ripping back that sleeve felt like a huge step back, but the thought of rushing to finish something that wouldn't fit felt worse than being a little late. My priority has shifted, not just to finish, but to make it right, even if it meant more work and a delayed gift. A perfectly fitting, albeit late, sweater felt like a truer expression of care than a rushed one that would never see the light of day.
Is this project cursed? Because this is my third sleeve I'm knitting, and I found another mistake. It's really subtle. There are 3 rows of the contrast color here, where it's supposed to be 2. And I've abandoned reading when to increase based on the intervals that I wrote down, because I found out that I did it differently on this sleeve. So I don't understand. What was I thinking? So now I'm reading my first sleeve as I go while knitting this one. But still, mistakes, mistakes, mistakes. Ugh. So I'm not gonna do this on time. Ugh.
Slowly, steadily, the intended form began to emerge. The subtle textures of the handspun yarn lent a unique depth and character, a gentle reminder of the handcrafted nature of this endeavor. Each completed row felt like a small victory, a reclaiming of lost time, a quiet triumph over obstacles that often left a trail of yarn ends and forgotten tools in their wake. The idyllic image of slow knitting had certainly been disrupted. But a different kind of satisfaction began to bloom. The quiet resilience, or perhaps plain stubbornness, of knitting amidst seemingly endless blunders.
Hello. It's 10:30 and I'm tired, but I think I've just finished the third sleeve. There we go. It still looks a bit small. I think my gauge is it's just different. We could start the yoke. So that was quite a few major F-ups on this thing so far. The amount of mistakes I've been doing with this thing is crazy. I think it stems from this laziness of counting. I really hate counting my stitches. It doesn't take long, just a few seconds. and it could save me a lot of time. But yeah, humans.
Then came the yoke, the linchpin. This wasn't mere knitting anymore. It was a high stake gamble. Except it wasn't really a gamble, because it was all calculated. And I had to trust the calculations, those carefully plotted increases and decreases. Trusting that the numbers would translate into a harmonious whole. 8 days. 8 days until the birthday. The reality of the deadline began to press in, a tangible weight alongside the ever growing pile of knitted fabric. The next few days became a blur of squeezed in moments, a patchwork of stolen minutes dedicated to the sweater. There were weekend activities, of course, trips to the park, meeting friends, catching up on house chores, and in between, the constant companion, the knitting. The rhythmic click of the needles became the soundtrack to car journeys, a portable focus amidst the family chaos. Snippets of progress accumulated, a few rows here, a few more there. Despite the hectic pace, or perhaps because of it, a sense of momentum began to build. The sweater was undeniably taking shape, and with each completed section, a fragile but persistent hope flickered. The hope that this ambitious project might actually reach its finish line, against all odds.
So, two increase rounds, no, two decrease rounds are done. Two decrease rounds are done. So, we're getting a bit of the yoke coming through here. I just want to make sure that it could fit. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so the underarm is of course not yet seamed. Oof. Mm, could work. You turn around, please. I think this could work. Yeah, yeah, okay. Thank you. You may leave. Yeah, yeah. So we're on the third section of the yoke now out of four. And it's going, it's going. So one thing I was a bit worried about is whether the pattern would flow nicely between the different yoke sections, because it's just the nature of the decreases that I can't maintain the staggered nature of the pattern, so I had to restart the sequence on the new round, which doesn't line up perfectly with the line below it, but I think it's fine. If you can't see it, it's probably fine. Yeah, so that's where we are now. So the first decrease round was a bit rapid, so it's curling up a little bit, and I can only hope that that blocks out fine. Is there, the decrease was 33%. The total stitches, I have my trusty calculation here based on the Knitting Workshop book by Elizabeth Zimmerman. I have now 140 stitches. Yeah, good, good, good.
This was the moment where the sweater would either find its perfect form or unravel into a misshapen mess. The tension was palpable, and the background chaos is not always on my side.
You know you have a toddler when your needle case is suddenly empty. When you need it, of course. And then you found it at a random bag somewhere, along with some random bits and bobs of yarn. Oh my gosh. Who's freaking out right now? Who's freaking out with me right now? Ah! Good morning. We're at crunch time here. It's Friday, 28th of March, and as you can see, I'm not yet finished. I'm in the last section of the yoke, and yeah, I got quite sick last night, so I couldn't knit. I passed out on my bed at 7 p.m. after dinner. So trying to sneak in some row this morning on the car ride. And I'm quite hopeful actually. I think I can finish this tonight. I just need the last decrease and then the neckband and seaming the underarm. Pray for me. Hello. I'm just laying in bed here. Sorry for the sound quality. I don't have my microphone right now, but I quickly want to show how I'm trying to determine the short row shaping for the neck opening. So I'm gonna do 3 sets of short row shapings. So that would be 6 rounds in total because each set would be back and forth. So I have 62 stitches for the body and 21 stitches for each sleeve. And I usually like to do short row shapings across the sleeves and the back and leaving the front without the short rows. So what I do now is I'm gonna divide the stitch for the sleeves into 3, which works out pretty nicely because I have 21 stitches of the sleeves. So I'm gonna, the first round, I'm gonna go all the way out, 21 stitches, all the way back, 21 stitches for the sleeve, and reducing that by 7 for every set. So 21, 21, 31, 21, 21, 31, 14, 31, 14, 31, 7, 31, 7, and then resolving it all. I hope that makes sense. We're at a home stretch here. If the short row shaping works, then I only have the neckband to go, and then seaming the underarm, which is still wide open, but I think it could work.
We'll see. Let's go. There's a unique focus that comes with the home stretch. A blend of frantic stress and a growing sense of anticipation. I'm not one who usually finishes a project this close to a deadline, but as the rows progressed, the uncertainty began to recede, replaced by a quiet disbelief. Could I actually do this? I would make it in time? Each click of the needles now became a steady, rhythmic affirmation of a goal probably within reach. So, somehow along the way, I managed to finish the double folded neckband. Phew! And I've just seamed one of the underarms. I must be a glutton for punishment for trying to do seaming or grafting with unspun yarn. Kind of scared that it doesn't hold up, but I hope it does. And now I'm on my way to craft the second one. After that, all it needs is a bath, and it'll be done. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. I'm so scared. If it's not good, we can redo the yoke. I think I'm a little unhappy with the yoke. Okay, head fits, good sign. Careful with the ends. Yeah. Oh my god. Oh!
Feels like an armor.
That yoke is too high. Neckline's higher than I thought. I bet it feels tight.
Mm-hmm.
Where?
Everywhere.
Do you feel like a sausage?
Yeah.
Lumayan.
Oh no! But
Yeah.
this will stretch after I wash it. All was not lost. While the knitting was done, the sweater wasn't truly finished. There was still a secret weapon in my toolkit. Wet blocking. The final alchemy. A process of soaking, shaping, and gentle stretching that would coax the fibers into its intended shape. Was I delusional? Or was I simply putting my faith in the process, trusting in the transformative power of water and patience? You're probably a better judge than I was at that point. The frantic energy of the past days gave way to a quiet sense of completion. The morning of the birthday, I wove in those last stubborn ends. The sweater, nestled in the gift bag, was ready. It had been a journey, a true odyssey of yarn and needles, but here it was. It fit him. Looking at the finished piece, a wave of profound satisfaction washed over me. It was more than just a sweater. It was a tangible representation of perseverance, a symbol of love made real. Would I do it again? To be honest, I'm not sure. But am I glad that I did? Without a doubt, 100% yes.